Hi there, my name is Alana and here at Classy on the Run, we love talking about high-end and luxury makeup and beauty. Today I'm so excited to be sharing with you 10 old eyeshadow palettes that I still want. Now I've seen a number of people do this video, I've seen it pop up on my feed from time to time, and I thought it'd be really fun because I love eyeshadow palettes. I love eyeshadow palettes so much and I have so many of them that it doesn't make sense for me to buy more of them. So I really try to be mindful when I'm purchasing new eyeshadow palettes that they're going to be something that I'm going to enjoy, but also something that is going to benefit my channel. So these are 10 palettes that are old palettes that I still want. So I'm going to share with you why I want them and what is holding me back. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I'm moving over because for most of these palettes, I don't have anything to show you. So we're going to be popping some stuff up here. So one just kind of caveat I want to place. As somebody with a YouTube channel, when purchasing an eyeshadow palette, in a sense, every makeup purchase is also a business decision. And I don't like to think about it that way, but they kind of are. And so for an eyeshadow palette, they are pretty pricey. And you know, I only have so much money to spend on makeup every month. So if I don't purchase it right when it comes out, I'm not going to get the views associated with, you know, be one of the first people to get content out there on that palette, right? The review, the search, etc. And after interest kind of dies down, not as many people are looking for information on that makeup anyways. So for me, if I'm not going to buy it right away, then it has to be an eyeshadow palette that I'm like super obsessed with getting. So these 10 eyeshadow palettes, they are on my short list. They are palettes that interest me. These palettes might have been on my love list at Sephora. They might be on my wish list. They might have been there for a long time. And I'm more likely to pick up some rather than others. So let's start at number 1, I guess. No. Let's start at number 10 and we'll work our way to number 1. So in number 10, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Primrose palette. Now the reason I didn't purchase this right when it came out is Anastasia Beverly Hills has kind of lost my interest over the last couple of years. And it wasn't until I tried the Nouveau palette that I was A, reminded by how beautiful the formula is, but B, I kind of thought this is the old Anastasia that we know and love. The other reason I haven't picked up the Primrose palette, to be perfectly honest, is I don't really like the idea of an eyeshadow palette that also has like face palette elements. Like I'm really just interested in the eyeshadow palette. But my interest is kind of rejuvenated after trying the Nouveau palette, falling in love with it, falling in love with the beautiful formula, and thinking like, I don't know, Primrose is pink, I like pink palettes, like this could be a moment. In number 9, we have the Naked Honey palette. Now I used to be a Urban Decay Naked palette collector, and was Honey where they lost me? Maybe the one before? I don't know. After they stopped being like neutral palettes, I was kind of like, can we just call them something different? And I sort of got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm not obsessed with the formula, and also I can't be just like it felt like with 1, 2, 3 and Heat, I was like, okay, this is like a reasonable collection. But once I realized they were going to release a new one every year, I was like, okay, I'm not collecting these anymore. And Honey really didn't call to me, like a yellow eyeshadow palette. But I've seen some of my favorite creators use it time and time again, long after the launch date. So that kind of has my interest peaked. And then also just, it's not as yellow as I thought. Like I think the palette, like because it's called Honey, it makes you think it's yellow, but it's not as yellow. So it's piqued my interest. We'll leave it at that. In number 8 from Huda Beauty, we have the Rose Quartz palette. Now I purchased the Retrograde palette a while ago when it was on sale, fell in love with the formula, and again, Huda, like her little 9 pans didn't really impress me, so I wasn't really interested in investing in the larger palette. But then I tried the larger palettes and I'm like, this is incredible. So I would still really like to get Rose Quartz. That's a palette that I'm hoping that maybe on her own website for like Black Friday or something, maybe she'll have a really good deal. So I would like to get it. The color story definitely seems like my jam, but I don't think I'd pay full price for it. Next up in spot 7 from ColourPop. So next up from ColourPop, we have their, I think it's called By the Rose, or like the Rosé palette, and the Feelin Bubbly palette. Now these two palettes I definitely view as like companions, and I've put them in my cart on ColourPop's website so many times, but the reason I never pull the trigger is one, I recently reorganized my makeup collection and I actually have like a drawer full of ColourPop palettes that I never reach for. So I just don't think I would use them. But then also going along with that, the formula is not incredible and I just want it because it has bachelor vibes. That's it. That's it. That's the only reason I want it, okay? Like bachelor, bachelorette vibes. That's the only reason I want it. Okay, so on to actually one more point. As I fill my cart with the hopes of getting free shipping, all the things that I want from ColourPop seem to be constantly out of stock. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like maybe I'll make a ColourPop order within the next 6 months. And if I do make a ColourPop order, those palettes will be in it. But I'm just not sure what else I'd put in the order. Okay, so on to the next one, Too Faced Born This Way Sunset Stripped. So the reason I'm interested in the palette is it's in the same style as the Born This Way, the Natural Nudes palette. So it's in the same style, which is exciting, right? It's in the same style. But then the reason I haven't purchased it is because it's in the same style. And I'm like, I already have this palette. Now the colors are different, as you can see here. The colors are different. So I probably will pick it up. But I just kind of go back and forth. Thankfully it is available at Shoppers, so I can either purchase it on a 20 times the points day or I can redeem points for it. So I think that I probably will eventually get that palette somehow in a way to maximize shopper points, because that way at least I won't be like paying full price for it. Okay, next up in number 5, kind of like the slightly more high-end version of the ColourPop, we have the Sugar Rush by Tarte, the pink palette and the brown palette. Again, gonna leave them here. I've put these in my cart on their website. I've put these physically in my cart at Ulta. And they're just like a little pricier than I'm willing to gamble with, but with the swirls, I don't know, the swirls really attract me. And I think they'd be a lot of fun, but then I tell myself I don't need it because like, I feel like these 3 Tarte palettes that I have, I'm gonna hold them up really quickly. So we've got In Bloom, which is really pretty and a palette I should use more. And then we've got the Tartelette just matte palette. And then we've got the Tarte So Juicy palette, which I like have hardly touched, which is like a crime. Have I used it once? I think I've used it once. So that feels like a crime. So I'm gonna like put this out so I use it more. But anyway, so it's like I have all these Tarte palettes that I'm not using and I really want, did I list it on here? Yes, comes in at number 2. But there's another Tarte palette I really want that I want more, so yeah. Okay, so in number 4, we have from Dior the Backstage palette in warm neutrals. Now I have this sort of purple tone plum palette, but I really want warm neutrals, and I've gone to buy it a couple of times at Sephora, and every time it is sold out. So in part, I haven't bought it because I physically haven't been able to. I've tried. But also I'm like, well, I have the purpley one and I don't really reach for that one. But then I remind myself that I purchased the purple one because I got so frustrated of not being able to purchase the warm neutral one that I purchased the purple one to kind of like fill that hole, but it didn't really fill the hole because I still want the warm neutral one. So I kind of just go back and forth. But I feel like that's a palette, like we're getting to the point now of palettes that I think I will conceivably purchase. And so that one, I think I would just purchase it maybe at the Sephora sale if it's in stock. Okay, in number 3, the third spot, so we are coming down in on number 1, from Patrick Ta, I really want the Major Dimensions palette. Now, I have the Major Dimension, like the Rose palette right here. And so the Major Dimension other palette is more of just like a brown neutral color story. And I feel like I use that color story more than I use the Rose color story. But then I tell myself, like, Alana, like, you should use this more. Like, if, you know, use this more and love it. And if you truly love it, then you can get the neutral one. But then the other part of me is like, I want all the neutral palettes ever. So that's kind of my struggle there. But it is really pretty. It really does attract me to it. In number 2, we have the Tarte Full Bloom Amazonian Clay Eyeshadow Palette. Now, I'd say the biggest thing holding me back from this eyeshadow palette, it's not the price, because I've spent that amount of money on a quad from Charlotte Tilbury many a time. It's actually that it's so big, and I'm just like, I feel like in my life, where I'm at right now. I want smaller and smaller products. Like I want less choice. Like I want my choice to be, I picked my eyeshadow quad, not like, what do I pick within the palette? Like I want to be really straightforward and easy, especially as I'm getting ready for work, especially as I'm getting ready for a busy day on the go. I want it to be easy. And I feel like with a palette that big, there's so many redundant shades that it wouldn't be easy because it's so big and I wouldn't be able to travel with it. I wouldn't move with it. Like I like small quads. But then I'm like, it's a great value. It's really pretty. It's been on my love list for a long time. So I think I might actually pull the trigger at the next Sephora sale. I think that's, you know, unless for Black Friday, if Tarte has a good deal. So, and again, per my other Tarte ones, I'm like, I have all these Tarte palettes and I don't use them. So maybe what I should do is try this, what's it called? The Tartelette Juicy palette. Try this one. And if I love the formula, maybe then I can purchase the bigger palette. And in the #1 spot from Tom Ford, we have the Honeymoon quad. So why do I want it? Basically because its name is Honeymoon. I seriously considered buying it before my wedding to take on my honeymoon, so that way I could wear honeymoon on my honeymoon. That was a very real possibility. I didn't purchase it because with my wedding, I was bleeding money and we were honeymooning in Bora Bora, which also cost a lot of money. And I was like, Alana, maybe you don't need to spend $110 on an eyeshadow quad, like before you go to Bora Bora, which is hot and humid and all your makeup is gonna melt off your face anyways. And I listened to myself, okay? And if I hadn't listened to myself, in part we wouldn't have this video because that palette was kind of like what sparked me making this video. So thank you for listening to past Alana so we could have this video, I guess. The other reason I haven't pulled the trigger yet is I know, and Morgan Turner was the one who like kind of alerted me to this, that you can get a lot of Tom Ford palettes like for like 40 or 60% off at the cosmetic company store. And I just tell myself that if I go there enough, one day I will stumble across Honeymoon at a great price. And I gotta say at $110, like that's a lot of money for an eyeshadow quad. So if I could get it for 40 to 60% off, I would purchase it in a heartbeat. So I really want that palette, but knowing that I can get it for less means I don't want to pay full price for it. So those are the 10 eyeshadow palettes. Well, I guess it's 12 because there's 2 where I counted 2 palettes, but I really view them as like companions. Anyways, those are the 10-ish eyeshadow palettes that I still want, even though they've been out for a while. I think I will pick up several of these, but I'm not in a rush. And at the end of the day, if a more exciting eyeshadow palette comes along between now and then that's a new release, it might push these ones back in the pecking order. The other way I could get these palettes would be if I won the lottery or my channel blew up and then I had like endless amounts of money to spend on makeup, then I'd go buy them all in a heartbeat. But in a world where we exercise at least a degree of reasonableness and responsibleness when it comes to our makeup spending, it's just hard to justify. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting. I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below if there's any old eyeshadow palettes that still have kind of caught your eye and you want to purchase, or maybe you're just a normal human being and these things don't factor into your purchasing decisions. Anyways, always love to chat with you guys down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe and I'll see you guys soon. Bye. Mwah.